Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene, where ancient grudge breaks to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth, with their death, bury their parents' strife. Most of you probably recognize that, but for those who don't, it is the beginning of the prologue of Romeo and Juliet, probably one of Shakespeare's most well-known plays. I'm currently in a production of Romeo and Juliet, which actually, when this video is uploaded, we open tomorrow, and it means that I had quite a bit of time to think about this play. Now, it should be known that going into being in this play, I really didn't like it. And, while it's still not one of my favorites, I do have a newfound respect for it. Because I came to the conclusion that the reason I hate it isn't because of the play itself, but because of how it is constantly interpreted. You see, people look at Romeo and Juliet and they think, oh, it's the greatest love story ever told. Which is just wrong. I have a variety of reasons as to why it's not a love story, most of them connected to Romeo, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Because ultimately, this story isn't a love story, and I don't think William Shakespeare wrote it to be a love story. I mean, if you listen to the prologue, it doesn't mention the lovers all that much. I mean, it does say star-crossed lovers, and beyond the point that I read, it mentions their love a few times, but most of the focus is on the two feuding families. And the reason for this is because the focus should be on these two feuding families. Because that's what this story is about. In this story we have two families, the Capulets and the Montagues, who have hated each other for so long that they don't even remember why they hate each other. I mean, in the version that we're doing, the grudge hasn't been going on for nearly as long, but it's been going on long enough that most of the younger generation, I think, honestly, doesn't remember why they hate the other side. It's been going on long enough that people say, oh, I hate the Montagues, or oh, I hate the Capulets, but if you were to actually sit down and ask them why, they wouldn't be able to answer. So we have these two feuding families, and we have a son of Montague and a daughter of Capulet meeting, and falling in love. Now, obviously, I don't see it as these two falling in love, because I don't think they do really truly fall in love, but some people may interpret it that way, so just to make it easier, let's just say these two people fall in love. But because of the hatred that their parents have for each other, they have to keep their love a secret. And as you probably already know, it doesn't end well. So we have these two people who would rather die than try to live with their hate-filled families. And really, everything that goes wrong in this play goes wrong because of this feud that no one can explain. I mean, think about it. What led them to their death? Juliet killed herself because Romeo killed himself because Romeo believed that Juliet was dead. Juliet faked her death so that she wouldn't have to marry Paris because her parents were trying to get her to marry Paris because she was pining over Romeo being banished, but they thought she was pining over Tybalt being dead, so to make her feel better, they were trying to make her marry Paris, so she faked her own death to get past that. Romeo was banished because he killed Tybalt. He killed Tybalt because Tybalt killed Mercutio, and Tybalt killed Mercutio because he wanted to kill Romeo, but Romeo didn't want to fight him, so Mercutio said, fine, if you won't fight him, then I will, and Tybalt ended up killing Mercutio. And Tybalt wanted to kill Romeo because he was a Montague. I mean, really, Tybalt doesn't give another reason for wanting to kill Romeo. I mean, yes, Romeo was at their party, and that was part of the reason, but the main reason that Tybalt wants to kill Romeo is because Romeo's a Montague. Tybalt is actually a wonderful representation of how completely pointless and violent this grudge has become. Because he states at the beginning of the play that he hates all Montagues. Just all of them. And it doesn't matter whether he knows them or not, he just hates them. So much so, in fact, that he, wants to fight basically every single one of them. And so it was this pointless feud that led these two to kill themselves. And the heads of the households, Capulet and Montague, realize this, come to terms with this, and finally end the feud. And that is what this play is about. It's about these feuding families who go on leading this completely pointless and violent grudge until finally the death of their children makes them realize how stupid and violent this grudge really is. And when you look at it like that, it's a good play. But if you try to look at it as a love story, it is one of the worst love stories that you will ever read. Aside, of course, from Twilight. And I came to this realization actually at one point during rehearsal. We have this point in the play where Capulet and Montague have made up, and we have a tableau as Friar Lawrence says the prologue once again. So we have this tableau as these two families who are very much alike are mourning the death of their children. And it's no longer about the feud, it's about how stupid the feud was and how much loss the feud made. Two households, both alike in dignity. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife.